Welcome to the sixth part of Total War, the board game the four players play through. Let's start that new turn. Over the last few turns, Carthage has emerged as a serious contender for the final victory. They may be only a few points ahead in the score race so far, but everybody knows they have the economic engine, the veteran units, and the high-rank generals to chase the final victory here. Who could be their main contender? Well, it is a harder question to answer. Macedonia has two good armies in the Balkan, with Philip having a veteran army and Alexander being a four-star general, but they had faced a military collapse in the east and are under significant economic pressure by being the only faction that has still not been able to build a wonder. The Gallic tribes have been under considerable military pressure since the beginning of that game. However, they have been able to catch up, grabbing victory points with military victory and still having a functioning economy. Their only concern is that they have been better in winning defensive battles so far, rather than offensive ones. Will relying on defensive victory be enough to secure a final victory in that game? Finally, Rome starts this new game aggressive and confident, pressuring the Gallic-Macedonian alliance early in the game. The Roman soldiers have then been humbled by a long streak of defeats, being unable to win a single victory so far without the support of their Carthaginian ally. The Romans are now fully aware of the rising Carthaginian threat and are having second thoughts about the alliance. However, without earning gold from Carthaginian trade, their economy would not be functioning as their numerous defeats have been quite costly. Also, they are aware they may have become the target number one for anyone who wishes to roll for home regions. Enough of talks. We are ready for our sixth initiative phase. Both Carthage and the Gallic tribes start the turn with 14 gold, while Rome and Macedonia are left with none. Looking at the board map, Carthage may think about adding gold to its initiative card, as they would benefit from playing first to start naval maneuvers in the Mediterranean Sea. Let's first see what card they draw. Okay, drawing a 7, it is credible to add 5 gold to target a 12. They do not imagine the Gallic tribes bidding. Carthage adds 5 gold to its card value and secures the initiative with a 12. Okay, all that the Carthaginian player wants is to play before Macedonia, but he is also aware that playing first always means having less options and taking more risk. The best course of action for him may be to start with Rome and play anti-clockwise so that he will play third and Macedonia will be last. Deal. Let's do that. And we are now ready for our sixth agent phase. In addition to the 2 assassination cards and the disease card he kept from last turn, Rome draws a trade card with Inspired General, a steel treasury card with Expert Evasion, a treaty card with Expert Evasion, and a riots card with Regional Revolt. Ahem. A lot to say here. First, no trade card here as the Inspired General is too precious to be used in trade, but he has a steel treasury card that he may use against the Gallic tribes, as they currently hold 14 gold in their treasury. Also, he is wondering if he should try to assassinate that 4-star Vercingetorix. Finally, he was hoping to secure a peace with Macedonia, but playing first puts him in an uneasy position here. He doesn't like it. Okay, what is the most important? Stealing gold from the Gallic tribes or assassinating Vercingetorix? From a diplomatic stance, he feels removing the 4-star leader of the Gallic tribes may make Philip uneasy in the Alps. And let's not forget that he heavily invested in a new navy last turn. That may be a good diplomatic argument when discussing with the Macedonians, but should he be loud about it? That would be like openly discussing betraying the Carthaginian. Well, let's not mention it for now, but playing first during the campaign turn he will immediately deploy his new navy. Okay, let's stop dreaming. First step, trying to assassinate Vercingetorix. His agent travels from Rome to Iavuvum and plays his assassination card here. A red die is rolled and an X. The attempt is a failure and the Roman agent dies. Ahem. So, Rome still has another agent to deploy, but to do what? He does not feel so confident offering a treaty to Macedonia, and it may be a waste of his agent action. Let's rather focus on stealing gold from the Gallic treasury, but for this he needs to send his agent in Cenabum. His second agent is then deployed to Perugia and travels to Cenabum using a bit of the Roman roads, so that he can play his steel treasury card there. Another red die is rolled, and this time the Roman player gets S. That is another failure, but this time his agent survives. Okay, let's stop there. He will finally not use his treaty card here, so let's cut the Macedonian supply line. At least for doing that, he does not need to negotiate anything with them, and that may be a more efficient way to repel their invasion. But actually, can he really cut a supply line here? Using the regional revolt card on a quincum would not cut Philip's supply line, as it could still go through Gallic allied regions such as Istros and Casurgis. In the same way, using it against the Gallic in Malva won't cut any supply line, as Odessa and Tanais will still be connected. Okay, then at least let's target the Gallic tribes. The regional revolt card is then used against the Gallic tribes in Malva. Finally, he has kept the disease card long enough, let's use it somewhere. Or should he keep it again so that he can use it just before a battle? It makes sense, but he completely forgot to do so last turn. Okay, let's try to keep it in mind for that turn. The Roman player then keeps the allied tension, the inspired general and the disease card and sells his remaining treaty card for 1 gold. Let's hope he will get a bit of gold from Carthaginian trade. In addition to the double agent card they kept from last turn, the Gallic tribes draw a treaty with untimely death, a sow distrust with bribe mercenary, a spy with beneficial winds, another spy with difficult travel, a trade with disruptive storm, and a sabotage with determined troops. Okay, the bribe mercenaries card will be an absolute killer against the Carthaginians. He may either use it defensively or be a bit on the offensive combined with his determined troops. Let's keep those 2 cards. However, looking again at the bribe mercenaries card, he is wondering. Should he not rather use the sow distrust side in order to break the Roman-Carthaginian alliance? Then, either Carthage will have to waste an agent action to renew the alliance, or they will seize the opportunity to turn against a weakened Rome. After all, the bribe mercenaries card is only about swapping a card. Which one is better? Well, that is a hard choice, but the Gallic player will go for breaking this alliance. Then, if the alliance is not renewed, the 2 sides won't be able to join their forces anymore, which may be a game changer on the battlefield. Let's see. The Gallic agent in Iater uses 2 movement points to reach Roma, using the Roman roads network. Here he uses his So Distrust card, officially breaking the Roman-Carthaginian alliance. The 2 factions upgrade their diplomatic stance to friendly. Then, his agent in Athens uses a trade card. But wait. What? No pirates cards here? For once the seas are safe. Both the Gallic tribes and Macedonia earn 6 gold. Coming back to his agent in Rome, he can still play an action card thanks to the advanced subterfuge tech. The Gallic tribes use their double agent card. The Carthaginian agent is sent back to Carthage and will not be able to play during this turn. Okay, if the Gallic tribes are able to neutralize the second Carthaginian agent, they may prevent any trade between Rome and Carthage during that turn. The Carthaginians are rich enough to not care so much, but it would be a financial blow to Rome. Also, it will make it unlikely that the Roman-Carthaginian alliance is renewed during that turn. Carthage still bought an agent in the last spending phase that is left undeployed so far. But they would be reduced to only 1 agent and will have to choose carefully their actions. Renewing the alliance may not be a priority then. Thanks to his expert assassin tech, the Gallic tribes do not need any action card to launch an assassination attempt against the Carthaginian agent in Cenabum. His agent in Lugdunum moves back to Cenabum. The city is now infested by foreign agents. It is high time to remove some of them. An assassination attempt is launched against the Carthaginian agent. 2 red dice are rolled and the Gallic tribes player gets a skull and a wound. The best die is kept and the assassination is a success. The Carthaginian agent dies here. The Gallic tribes will stop their turn here, and the 2 spy cards and the treaty card are sold for 4 gold. Only the determined troop will be kept for later. Having kept no cards from the last turn, Carthage draws 7 new action cards and get a riots with prepared battlefield, a protest with catch enemy, an assassination with plague, a treaty with willing volunteers, a mercenary with prepared battlefield, a trade with disruptive storm, and a spy with forced march. Okay, let's start with the easy one, the Plague card. That is a powerful card he can use in a very critical moment of the game, while we are pivoting for mid to endgame. Well, he has two main options here. Either targeting the Gallic army who beat Octavian in Alesia, and spreading a bit to the Gallic and Roman armies around. His former Roman allies may not be happy about that, but that would open him the Gallic home region. However, those Gallic home regions are heavily fortified, so not the easiest and fastest to roll for. Another good option would be to target the Philip army in the Alps, and spread a bit to the Vercingetorix one. That should please more his former ally, and more important, this would severely damage what is well known to be a full veteran army, the result of an impressive streak of victories of King Philip on the battlefield against the Romans. Well, a third option would be to blindly attack the Macedonian army 1 or 4, but he has no idea about what is in those armies. At this stage of the game, he may guess it is 2 full armies at least, but with no veteran for sure. Well, weakening one of them would still be an interesting option, as combined with his naval supremacy with both more and better ships, that would open wide the unwalled Macedonian home regions for his conquest. Well, rolling for Macedonian home region during that turn will, for sure, turn everyone against him on the campaign board, as it would put him so close to a victory on the score race next turn. Stuck in the Alps, the full veteran army of King Philip will take some time to march south, and won't even be able to fight in Greece before 2 full turns. That will be too late. Okay, from the behavior of the armies since the beginning of the game, it is natural to assume Army 1 is the one that hosts the starting 4-star general of Macedonia. Should he waste one of the actions of his only remaining agent to confirm that with a spy? No need. There is no reason to not assume that Army 1 is the main one. A new epidemic spreads around the city under siege of Iater. The Macedonian Army 1 will have to lose half of its troops, rounded down, with the 4-star General Alexander at risk. The army randomly loses 1 onager, 1 ballista, 1 Thracian cavalry, 1 peltastoi, and finally, 1 Samartian lancer. Well, let's see the glass half full. At least Alexander survives. However, his army is considerably weakened, and won't be able to fight in the next campaign turn. The last Carthaginian agent is then deployed in Carthago, and uses all of his movement point to sail to Byzantium, where he plays his riot card. 2 unrest markers are added to Byzantium, and the Macedonian loses 2 tax income here. Well, lacking agents, Carthage must stop there. He will keep his willing volunteers, mercenary and trade card for next turn and sell all the other cards for 2 gold. Having kept no cards from the last turn, Macedonia draws a sabotage card with regional revolt, a rebel uprising with inspired general, a trade with inspired agents, a treaty with difficult travel, another trade with inspired agents, a spy with determined troop, and finally a rebel uprising with deadly tempest. Okay, the deadly tempest one is just what he needed. He immediately uses it against the Carthaginian navy too, who loses 2 ships. This should weaken any Carthaginian logistic to disembark on his home region during that turn. His agent in Cenabum then uses a trade card. Both Macedonia and the Gallic tribes earn 6 gold with that trade. Then a regional revolt card is played against Jerusalem, cutting the supply line to Gizkan in Damascus. Macedonia will then end his turn here. His second agent will stay in Mare Internum, and the Macedonian player will keep his inspired general, his difficult travel, his determined troops, and only sell his remaining trade card for 1 gold. This 6th agent turn is now over, and we move to a new taxation phase. Rome earns 26 gold in tax income, scoring 2 victory points, and earns 2 gold from Macedonia, thanks to their wonder. They are left with 29 gold in their treasury and are the poorest faction, after an agent turn with no trade revenues. The Gallic tribes earn 24 gold in tax income, scoring only 1 victory point, and earn 2 gold from Macedonia, thanks to their wonder. They are left with 56 gold in their treasury and are the richest faction, benefiting from both strong trade revenues during the turn, and from the treasury they have accumulated so far. They may complain a lot about their roster, relying on tech developments to get cavalry and with no artillery, but at least they have access to quite inexpensive units. Carthage earns 34 gold in tax income, scoring 3 victory points, and earns 2 gold from Macedonia, thanks to their wonder. They are left with 47 gold in their treasury. If they are not the richest faction, they are still the most solid one, with a good economic engine, 2 almost full navies of flagships, a fully developed tech tree, and full armies led by high-ranked generals. Finally, Macedonia earns 31 gold in tax income, scoring 3 victory points, but loses 6 gold due to their lack of wonder. They are left with 37 gold in their treasury, which is good enough, thanks to extensive trade with the Gallic tribes during the Agent phase. Looking at the score race, Carthage is now clearly leading. We will have to see how this 6th campaign turn unfolds, but all factions around the table are now aware that Carthage is the top contender for final victory. And we are now ready for our 6th campaign phase, starting with Rome. Now that we are nearing the endgame, Rome needs to have a bit of strategic thoughts here. He feels stuck once again. Playing first, he should either adopt a very passive and defensive stance, basically doing nothing else than retreating his armies, or take some risks, as he did back in the time with his stupid expedition on Vicus Gothi. Well, taking risks did not end up well last time. On the west front, his Caius Octavian army can either attack the Gallic tribes or start a war against the Carthaginian player, but then what? In any case, he would become an easy target for the remaining armies later in the turn. Well, another option is to just target enemy home regions and launch kind of suicide attack there. His army would be shut down at the end, but at least he should score some victory points before that. He may, for instance, march north to Vesontio and Trevorum. Of course, Vesontio is walled, which will lower his dice, but he still has a big enough army to not care. If he is lucky enough with the dice, he may even roll for Bavacum in the same turn. He is clearly destroying his army by sending it like that in the north, but hey, that is 6 victory points to get, ha! In Italy, he will most likely deploy Marcus Antonius and reorganize with Titus Labienus. What should he do after that? Keep a defensive stance? Now that his alliance with Carthage is broken, and given that his navies are either deployed in the east or inside port, he could even launch an attack on Carthago Nova or Tigny. Well, once again, his only problem is that he is playing first. By doing those actions, Italy would be the absolute target for all the remaining factions looking to score points in that turn. Okay. First, his second navy is deployed in Roma and is sent patrolling the Tyrrhenum Sea. At least Italy is now properly defended from sea attacks. Then Marcus Antonius is deployed in Rome, where both Titus and he spend 1 movement point reorganizing their armies. Titus Labienus receives from Marcus Antonius the flaming logs, 2 legionaries and 1 archer. Marcus Antonius is then reduced to only 2 main battle cards and uses his last movement points to march south to Neapolis. Now the question is, what should he do about Octavian? The Gallic tribes will play before Macedonians, but with a bit of coordination he can still be attacked by Philip veterans led by a 4-star Vercingetorix if he holds his ground in Octodorus or Mediolanum. Attacking either a Gallic or a Carthaginian army in the south of Gaul would make him vulnerable to a counterattack by either one or the other later in the turn. His idea of rolling for several home regions is tempting. That would kill his Caius Octavius for sure, but he may score 2 to 6 victory points with that run. His last option is to retreat to Genu, or just stand his ground in Lugdunum. Okay, once again that may be a stupid move, but let's go, let's march north. Caius Octavius marches north to Vesontio, where he immediately launches an assault on the walled Gallic city. Vesontio rolls 2 red dice and we get an X and skull. Caius Octavius loses a legionary there. Octavian then launches an assault on the city and will roll 9 white dice and 1 black roll. The Roman army rolls 6 blanks and 4 X. Ouch! That was close, but the assault is a success here. The Gallic city falls under the Roman hands, and Rome scores 2 victory points here. Caius Octavius then uses his second movement point to reach Trevorum, assaulting the Gallic city again. Trevorum rolls 2x, killing an archer, while Octavian rolls 5 green dice, 3 white dice and 1 black die and gets 1 skull, 3 wounds, 2 S and 3 blanks, more than enough to conquer that city. The Roman player scores 2 more victory points, now reaching Carthage on the scoreboard. Okay, Caius Octavius is already vulnerable to any Gallic counterattack. Let's at least reach Bavacum for an attempting of a last assault on a Gallic home region. The Gallic city rolls 2 wounds again. Caius Octavius decides to lose an auxiliary as he is standing in a low-terrain element region. He then rolls 4 green dice, 3 white dice and 1 black die and gets 1 skull, 3 wounds, an S and 3 blanks. That is 2 more victory points for the Roman player. Caius Octavius is now cooked, but hey, that was a nice streak of victory points, right? In addition, the Gallic Empire is once again split in 2 and Vicus Gothi market is not anymore connected to the rest of the Gallic market. The Gallic tribes may want to waste their turn just conquering back some region here. The Roman player ends his turn here, with the Italian peninsula well defended with Titus and Marcus Aurelius ready to counterattack next turn in case of invasion. With that desperate expedition in the north, every player around the table can now feel that we are reaching the endgame. The strategy is not anymore about building your economic engine, getting some veteran and some stars for your general, but thinking about how to get to 25 victory points, and most importantly, how to prevent Carthage from being first. Well, apparently Rome chooses to let the burden of countering Carthage fall to other players, but to be frank, playing first puts him in an uneasy position. And we now move to the Gallic tribes. Well, those poor Gallic tribes are puzzled. Caius Octavius is obviously a target in the north for a total victory, but by doing so they would be at risk of leaving undefended their home region to a Carthaginian assault, and they cannot afford to see Carthage scoring 6 victory points here. Well, hopefully they have an undeployed army too, that may solve that dilemma. But then there is a question of general stars. They know Caius Octavius has been weakened and lost 3 main battle cards. However, can they afford to attack him with a 2-star general? That would mean deploying first, and the Roman player may then use the best of his skirmishers and artillery and engage in tactics to minimize fight and hold the ground on kill score. Okay. That means a 3-star Ambiorix needs to run after Caius Octavius, while Sedullos will be deployed on the Carthaginian front line. The Gallic armies there will suffer from their low stars, but their role will just be to weaken as much as possible the Carthaginian armies before they roll for walled home regions. Ambiorix then uses a little bit more than 2 movement points to reach Bavacum, using the bridge over the Seine to not use 3 full movement points. Their Caius Octavius accepts the engagement with no attempt to escape, but plays 2 agent cards. First, a disease is sent against Ambiorix's army, who randomly loses his veteran Highland warrior. Ouch. That is bad news, as it was his only true terrain unit. Then Caius Octavius plays his inspired general cards, gaining 2 stars and being a 4-star general for the fight to come. The Gallic tribes moved Ambiorix for nothing. He will now have to deploy first, and that battle will be harder to win. Well, let's keep hope, as he still holds a determined troops in his hand. And we are back on the battlefield for the Battle of Bavacum. Here, a 3-star Ambiorix is leading a Gallic army up in the north, hoping to punish those bold Roman attacks on Gallic home regions with a total victory on the battlefield. His army has been weakened by a disease on the way, losing his previous veterans from Alesia, but he still counts 2 skirmishers with a slinger and a pony rider, and 5 main battle cards, 2 lowlands, 1 soldiery, 1 heavy cavalry, and 1 noble cavalry. In front of him, the Roman general, Caius Octavius, will fight for survival and is galvanized by his desperate situation, acting as a 4-star general for the battle. Yes, his army is on the verge of collapsing, with only 3 main battle cards left, 2 legionaries and 1 auxiliary, but he still holds 2 Balearic slingers acting as skirmishers, and 2 artillery units, an onager and a ballista. With his 4 stars he has a slight chance of surviving, as he will have more tactical options, a better dice to throw, and mainly because he will deploy second, giving him a huge advantage in the battle. With his 3 stars, Ambiorix draws a shot in the eye, an ambush, and a seize initiative card. The seize initiative card is a powerful one, and in addition to those cards, Ambiorix also holds a determined troop card from the agent phase. With his 4-star, Caius Octavius draws a take the hill, 2 rally the troops, and 1 overcome bodyguard. Not super powerful cards to be honest, especially the rally the troops will push him to go on the battlefield and is redundant. Let's see. Because the battle is taking place nearby the Rhine River, a major waterway is placed on tile 7. We should then draw a forest element and we draw a forest number 1. Because he has the least stars, Ambiorix will have to deploy first and will reveal 1 unit to Caius Octavius. Okay, the Gallic general knows exactly what the Roman will do during that turn. Staking skirmishers, artillery, and main battle cards on the same tile and minimizing engagement before the melee, so that he can both maximize damage on the Gallic troops and reduce the probability of a Roman collapse. Okay, the artillery can be deployed anywhere but tile 1 and 7, and because there are woods on tile 1, it is likely that Rome will just deploy its artillery on tile 5 and 6, nearby the Rhine. There is another question. Does Ambiorix really want to engage the enemy at any cost? He is missing 1 star against Caius Octavius, and actually, by deploying Sedullos later on the campaign map, he will for sure be able to cut the supply line to Caius Octavius just by getting back Vesantio. So, the question here is, does he really want to engage at any cost on the battlefield? He may still stack his troops to the wood's flank, and use the skirmishers to protect them from artillery shots. That would leave him 2 main battle cards in reserve. Okay, let's do that. Ambiorix deploys a lowland warrior in the woods, his soldiery stacked with his slinger on tile 2, and his noble cavalry stacked with his pony rider on tile 3. His heavy cavalry and his second lowland warrior will stay in reserve for later. He sends a lowland in the woods, but he is curious to see if the Roman will want to engage here. After all, they have no clue about which troops have been sent here, and they may also just want to avoid the tile. Well, Ambiorix holds an ambush card, so should he reveal his lowland? That may push the Roman to engage there, which may be a good trap for later. Alternatively, he may just reveal his slinger. Okay, let's have fun. Let's reveal the lowland and see how the Roman player reacts to that deployment. Facing this deployment, Caius Octavius is puzzled. His auxiliary will have an advantage in the woods against the lowland, but may be quite isolated later in the melee. Is it worth it? With only 3 main battle cards, he should be worried not to collapse, so he was thinking more about avoiding engagement in the charge, for instance by sending his artillery unit on the riverside. Well, he may move it closer to the wood so that his auxiliary cannot be flanked in the melee, and he may even hope to collapse Ambiorix during this charge with that deployment. Okay, let's try that. His artillery, stacked with Balearic slingers and legionaries, is sent on tile 3 and 4, while his auxiliary is deployed on tile 1, keeping no cards in reserve. Ambiorix now reveals his troops and we are ready for artillery. But wait. Ambiorix plays his ambush card on tile 1, and rolls AS, doing nothing. The ambush failed. Let's hope his army will make it to the melee now. From tile 4, the Onega rolls 2 white and gets a blank and AX, wounding the pony rider. From tile 3, the ballista then rolls a blank and AS, doing nothing here. Time for skirmishers, and Ambiorix will add his determined troop to his pony rider throw. His pony rider rolls 2 blanks, while the Balearic slinger rolls a blank as well. Looks like no one will collapse here, and Ambiorix should have a number advantage in the melee. The impact of the charge happens. In the woods, the auxiliary rolls 2 blanks, while the lowland rolls an X, wounding the auxiliary. Finally, on tile 3, the noble cavalry rolls an X, wounding the slinger who rolls 2X, killing the pony rider. First kill to Rome. The charge is now over and the remaining skirmishers leave the battlefield. They have played their part. Rome is left with no unit in reserve while Ambiorix can send his remaining troops on the battlefield. His lowland warrior is sent on tile 4 while the heavy cavalry joins tile 5. During exploitation, his heavy cavalry is sent flanking the legionary and the onager on tile 4. Well, Caius Octavius fell into the Gallic trap. He should have kept his artillery next to the Rhine River, so that he could have been flanked by one side only. He has been lured by a better chance in the woods against the lowland, and by the hope he could make the Gallic line collapse before melee, first by concentrating his artillery fire on tile 3, then by having advantage in the woods. He did not roll the expected dice, and is now facing flanking on one side and support from another side. Being the highest-ranked general, Caius Octavius will choose first where to play, but wait. Ambiorix plays his Seize Initiative card, which will allow him to play twice in a row. He immediately joins the battlefield on tile 5 to add his green die to the Heavy Cavalry 1. The Heavy Cavalry and their general roll an S and a blank, doing nothing against the close formation of the Legionary, and because they are flanking they can re-roll and get a S and skull, killing both the Legionary and the Onager. 2 kills to 1. Thanks to his Seize Initiative card, Ambiorix still has the initiative and activates his Soldiery on tile 2, acting as a support against tile 3. Because he acts as a support, the Soldiery will throw 1 color down and he rolls a S, killing both the Legionary and the Ballista. That's it. Reduced to only 1 main battle card, Caius Octavius' army collapses. Ambiorix scores a new victory against the Romans. He is able to regroup his pony riders, then losing no troops in this victory. The Heavy Cavalry and 1 Lowland Warrior are upgraded to Veteran, and Ambiorix may roll to get 1 more star and gets an S, staying a 3-star general. With that total victory, the Gallic tribe scores 2 victory points while Caius Octavius disappears in the north, as his dear uncle. Ambiorix has to roll to liberate the region and he gets a S and a X, losing his slinger. Bavacum is Gallic again, and Ambiorix can use his last 2/3 of a movement point to march south to Trevorum, where he rolls 2 blanks, liberating the region with no loss. Okay, that is a good start of the turn. Now the Gallic player has to think about what he wants to do on the Gaul front line and in the Alps. In the Alps, Vercingetorix is wasting his time besieging a random city just to destroy walls and barracks. We are near the endgame now. He should find a better use of his 4 stars. Of course, he would love to march south and roll against Roman region. However, he is not sure that he can properly organize this expedition. There is still a layer of non-home regions in between which would weaken his army for nothing, and he would let 2 Roman barracks behind him in the Alps, leaving ample opportunities for the Roman player to counterattack on his own home region, or to at least cut his supply line to Italy. Well, the game won't be super long from now on, so does he need a supply line to Italy? After all, the Roman player already played, right? For this spending turn at least, he will still be connected thanks to his Macedonian ally in Virunum. He has a short discussion with Philip, trying to understand what the intentions of the Macedonian king are. Well, it is hard for Macedonia to answer now. He is curious to see how the Gallic tribes end their turn, and then, it depends a lot on what Carthage will do next. Philip may join Vercingetorix in Italy, or not. It is just too soon to answer, but if the Gallic opens a good opportunity there, Macedonians may follow them. Vercingetorix makes his decision. He will march south, trying to grab some victory points before it is too late. The alternative would be retreating north and marching west, which will take him some turns being useless. He would join back the clash against Carthage when the game will be already over. Let's rather march south. The siege over Iavuvum is broken, and Vercingetorix spends 2 movement point to enter Italy in Patavium, where he rolls a blank and skull, losing a unit. Because he wants to attack Roman home regions, his infantry is too precious. His chariot is a veteran and his noble cavalry may be precious on the battlefield, but useless against a home region. He then sacrifices his noble cavalry. He may anyway recruit it back during the next spending turn. Vercingetorix then uses his last movement point to march south and attack Arminium. The Roman home region rolls a skull and AX. Okay. Should Vercingetorix sacrifice a veteran chariot here or the lowland warrior? He will roll his yellow dice and 3 or 4 green dice depending on his choice. Beating a skull and a wound is not that easy. It is a hard decision, but let's sacrifice the veteran chariot here. Vercingetorix then rolls a skull, 2 wounds, AS and a blank. That's it. Gallic tribes have entered Roman home regions. Julius Caesar wanted a war. Roman people have it now. Finally, the Gallic player has to deal with the Western Front. His armies should keep a defensive stance here, just acting as a deterrent for the Carthaginian player to march north, and weakening them as much as possible if the Carthaginians still decide to march north. Cenabum is deployed in Alesia. He may use movement points to reconquer Vicencio and Lugdunum, but the Gallic player does not think it will be a good idea. It will weaken Cenabum and will make a march to the north more attractive for the Carthaginians. If the two regions stays Roman, however, Carthage won't earn points by conquering them, and they will need to attack the full army of Cenabum and Carthaginados if they want to really march against walled Gallic home region. Moreover, there is still a Roman barrage in Octodorum, so the Roman player may just play the same move Agant next turn, finding a breach into the Gallic defense and sending a full Roman army to a certain collapse against 6 victory points. Keeping those two regions Roman makes a march against the Gallic home regions less appealing for anyone, and whatever, the Gallic tribes are rich enough. Well, to be fair, from Octodorus the Roman player can still target Euburzus and Tulliferdum in a row, but Euburzus is already walled and garrisoned. The Gallic player will then end his turn here. And we are now moving to the Carthaginian in that campaign turn. Wow! Carthage did not expect such an aggressive turn from both the Roman and the Gallic tribes. He must redo a bit his forecast here. Yes, he will score 3 points in the next taxation phase and needs to score at least 5 points over this campaign turn, and the next one to secure a victory, but what about the Romans? After such a turn, they are back in the game. In the next taxation phase, they should reach 21 points, and will be a challenger for the endgame, especially because their barrage in the Alps allows them to easily target Gallic home regions. The Gallic did not make a bad turn, but they seem too weak to be called a challenger for final victory. However, they put too much focus on defending against Carthage, which will slow Carthage's points acquisition in the west. Talking about the west, there is no more buildings in Nemessos, and the region being a non-home region, Mago Barca must immediately roll for it. Mago gets 2x, losing a Libyan spearman. Well, Carthage does not need much more points to win. If the Gallic tribes want to defend, then he may just slowly walk north. Himilcon Famius then uses 2 movement points to move to Lemonum, where he engages with the forces of Carthaginados. The Gallic tribes do not run away. They are here to weaken those Carthaginian invaders as much as possible, and will fight till the end. Carthaginados will be able to join force with Cenabum, while Himilcon Famius will receive support from Mago, and will actually let him lead the fight with his 4 stars. And we are now back on the battlefield for the Battle of Lemonum. Mago Barca is leading a mix of the best of each army. 2 pony cavalry for hunting the Gallic warriors in an open field, a veteran war elephant, 2 mercenary scutari, flexible units that can chase down the Gallic into the woods, and a sacred band, more fit for the open field. He also comes with full artillery and skirmishers. In front of him, Carthaginados has rallied the best infantry he could find, with 2 Highland warriors, 1 Lowland, 1 Solduri, 1 Giseti, and still made the decision to add a bit of cavalry with his chariot. Because he remembers about the Carthaginian war elephant, and may even face more of them during this battle, he also brings 2 javelin men, hoping to shut them down early in the battle. With his 4 stars, Mago draws 2 Take the Hill, a fast start and a tough hour. Good enough cards, let's see if they will be some hills. In front of him, Carthaginados draws a devastating fire and a devastating charge. Easy to use and always useful. Because the battle is taking place in Lemonum, nearby the Atlantic coast, a major waterway is placed on tile 7. We should then draw 2 forest elements and we get no hill, but an interesting draw. Tile 1 will be reserved for cavalry only during that turn. Because he is the lowest ranked general, Carthaginados must deploy first. Taking in account the scouting expert trait of Mago, he will have to reveal 3 units. Okay, that is a tough one. Doing basic math, he can deploy 4 main battle cards and his 2 skirmishers on every available tile, and keep 2 units in reserve for the melee. His goal will be to match the javelin men with the war elephants, but the forest and the cavalry-only tile should help him for that. His chariot is sent on tile 1, the 2 highlands take position inside the woods. Then his lowland warrior is sent on tile 2 while the 2 javelin men takes position on tile 3 and 5. The solduri and the naked Giseti are kept in reserve. This should avoid them being shut down by artillery and skirmishers early in the game, and they should bring their good dice for the melee. Facing this deployment, Mago Barca first sends a pony cavalry, stacked with Numidian light cavalry, on tile 1. He will then send his 2 artillery units in the middle, the ballista, stacked with a sacred band on tile 3, and the onager stacked with Numidian javelin men and Hispanic scutari on tile 4. The second scutari takes position in woods nearby the coast. Finally, his second pony is sent on tile 2 while his veteran war elephants take position between the 2 woods, on tile 5. Critognatos reveals his troop and we are ready for the fight. Critognatos is satisfied with that deployment. His devastating fire will allow him to take his chance twice against the war elephant, while his devastating charge may allow him to roll against one of the artillery unit. Let's see. Mago Barca is reviewing his troops. His pony won't enjoy any special effect, but they won't suffer either any adverse special effect from the lowland or the chariot. He had to deploy his ballista with only the sacred band, but that's fine, the javelin men are not a credible threat here. Okay, he knows what his artillery target will be. His ballista targets tile 2 and rolls an X and a blank, wounding the lowland warrior. His onager targets the javelin men on tile 5 and rolls a blank and an X, only wounding him as well. Time for skirmishers. On tile 1 the Numidian cavalry rolls 2 wounds, killing the chariot. 1 kill for Carthage, and they are winning the wing. Well, in that case the Gallic tribes cannot be flanked in any case as we are fighting on a battlefield with 2 forest elements and they have already developed their secure flank tech. On tile 4 the Numidian javelin men will lower its dice, as he is throwing in the forest, and roll an X, wounding the warrior. So far so good. Okay. Because he holds a devastating fire, Critognatos will first roll on tile 5, to see if he wants to re-roll there. His javelin men roll a blank. But wait! Critognatos uses his devastating fire card, and the javelin men re-roll a blank again. On tile 3 his javelin men rolls S, doing nothing. Ha! Is that a joke? Time for the charge. Critognatos has taken too many hits here. He may collapse before the melee if he keeps being unlucky. Order does not matter, but Critognatos asks for activating tile 6 first, so that he can use his devastating charge here, before a potential collapse. The Highland rolls an S and a blank, same as the Scutari. The 2 units die here. 2 kills to 1. Okay, we are still early in the fight, but the situation is already desperate. Critognatos joins tile 2 to add his white dice to the lowland here. Let's at least try to maximize the damages. Critognatos and the lowland roll an S and a blank, while the pony rolls 2 blanks, both doing nothing. On tile 3 the sacred band roll an X and a blank, only wounding the skirmishers. Tile 4 will be decisive. The Highland must survive here, and he can only survive with 2 blanks. Any other combination will kill him. Make your guess, what are the odds? The Scutari rolls 2 blanks while the Highland rolls a skull. The miracle happens. 2 kills to 2 and the Gallic tribes will make it to the melee. On tile 5 the war elephant rolls an X, trampling the clumsy javelin men. 3 kills to 2. The charge is now over and the remaining skirmishers leave the battlefield. They have played their part. Mago Barca is left with no reserve, while Critognatos can send his reserve units on the battlefield. Given the special effect of the sacred band, it makes more sense to send his soldiery against them, while the Giseti will fight against the war elephants. Because of the Gallic tech, the pony on tile 1 cannot flank, but they will still be able to provide support from tile 1. Being the highest ranked general, Mago will have the initiative here. He will of course activate tile 1 as a support, hoping to provoke a chain reaction from left to right. Acting as support, his pony will lower their dice by 1 color. Mago hesitates to join the tile. He only needs an X to kill that lowland. Is it worth it? Come on, what are the odds? The pony rolls an S and a blank, doing nothing against the lowland. Mago should have gone there, especially because Critognatos is on the tile as well, so the lowland dice will be boosted later when tile 2 is rolled. Critognatos then activates tile 3. His Solduri roll an X, while the Sacred Band roll a skull and AS, killing the Solduri. 4 kills to 2, and a collapse is now impossible for Carthage. It will be hard for the Gallic tribes to come back. Mago Barca then activates tile 2. After all, he can still hope for a double kill here. His pony rolls AS and a blank, doing nothing against the Lowland and Critognatos, who roll a blank and AS, doing nothing as well. Critognatos will then take his chance on tile 4. His Highland warrior rolls AS, killing the Scutari, who roll a blank and a wound, killing the Highland warrior. That is a double kill for the Gallic tribes. But wait. Mago Barca plays his Tough It Out card. All the enemy rolls on that tile are cancelled and will not be re-rolled. 5 kills to 2. Ouch! That is a hard one for the Gallic tribes. His army is now at risk of collapsing, and in that case Mago Barca will be able to regroup the 2 lost units, making this whole battle worthless for the Gallic and quite profitable for Carthage. Well, at least let's try to add those elephants to the dead pile. On tile 5 the Giseti roll an X, only wounding the war elephants, who rolls a skull, trampling the Giseti. 6 kills to 2, and Critognatos' army collapses here. Mago Barca is able to regroup the 2 lost units, the Nubian javelin men and the mercenary Scutari. Well, Mago Barca can't actually find any troop to upgrade to veteran, as there is no more veteran mercenary Scutari available in the mercenary deck, and none of the remaining troop can upgrade. Neither the pony, nor the Sacred Band, nor the skirmishers. Too bad. He can still roll for upgrade and he gets a blank, staying a 4-star general. Back on the campaign map, the Gallic army 3 retreats to Cenabum, the Gallic capital. The army has lost its general, Critognatos, but is still a 4 main battle cards army. In Alesia Sedulos has been reduced to only 2 main battle cards after that defeat. In Lemonum, Himilcon Famaus lays a siege on the region. With those 2 victory points, Carthage is now even with Rome at 19 victory points. That is good, but not enough. He needs to use his remaining time of that turn to widen the gap. His army suffered no loss in the Battle of Lemonum, and he knows the Gallic tribes are vulnerable. It is time for a rematch. The 3 Gallic armies are next to each other, so wherever Carthage attacks, they will be able to pool their troops. Well, he has the choice between Cenabum, where he will roll 1 forest element, and Alesia, where he will roll a forest and a mountain element. Ahem. He feels it does not change much for him, as he is dominating everywhere. Let's fight in Cenabum. Mago Barca uses 2 movement points to reach Cenabum. With no general, the Gallic army cannot escape, and we are back on the battlefield. While we are nearing the endgame, the Gallic capital is now facing a Carthaginian assault from Mago Barca, heir of Hannibal, that has always followed his mentor in his fights, from the Iberian Peninsula to the north of Gaul. For this new attack, Mago Barca has selected slightly lesser good units, but with more rooms for veteran promotion in case of victory. He is once again leading a full army with 2 artillery pieces, an onager and a ballista, 2 skirmishers, a Nubian javelin men and a Nubian light cavalry, and 6 main battle card units, a citizen spearman, a Sacred Band, 2 Scutari, including 1 mercenary, a pony cavalry and a veteran war elephant. In front of him, the remains of the 3 Gallic armies have joined their forces to defend their sacred land. Ambiorix, the hero of Vicus Gothi, the protector of the West, the one who defeated Caius Octavius at Bavacum, will take the lead of this last-chance army. He will lead a force with 2 pony riders, 2 heavy cavalries including a veteran 1, a noble cavalry, a soldiery, a veteran lowland warrior and another lowland warrior. With his 4 stars Mago Barca draws sees initiative, bad enemy timing, dedicated bodyguards and skillful disengagement. In front of him Ambiorix will fight with bribed mercenary, flank march and skilled terrain user. Ouch. A lot of powerful tactica cards in each side. Mago Barca can be happy with his seize initiative and bad enemy timing card, while Ambiorix can surprise the Carthaginian with his mercenary bribe and flank march 1. Because the battle is taking place nearby the Seine, a major waterway is placed on tile 7. We then draw a forest element and get a forest 4. Ambiorix is fine with that draw and will not use his Tactica card here. Once again, tile 1 will be reserved for cavalry units only. Being the lower rank general, Ambiorix will have to deploy first and, because of the scouting expert trait of Mago Barca, he will have to reveal 2 units. His veteran heavy cavalry is sent on tile 1 while the noble cavalry will be on tile 2, both stacked with pony riders. He then sends his soldiery on tile 4, while the veteran lowland takes position on tile 5. He is hoping that the gap in tile 3 will be filled by a mercenary scutari bribed from the Carthaginian army, and that his soldiery may not have to fight during the charge. Let's see. The lowland and the heavy cavalry are then kept in reserve. The veteran heavy cavalry and the pony rider on tile 1 are then revealed, as they are obvious cavalry units. Facing that deployment, Mago Barca decides to send his pony cavalry, stacked with Numidian skirmishers, on tile 1. He will enjoy better dice at each roll there. He then decides to avoid facing the skirmishers of tile 2 and deploy his artillery units on tile 3 and 4. His onager is stacked with Numidian javelin men and mercenary Hispanic scutari on tile 4, while his ballista is stacked with a Hispanic scutari on tile 3. Finally, his veteran war elephant is sent on tile 5. The sacred band and the citizen spearmen are kept in reserve. Ambiorix reveals his army and we are now ready for the fight. But wait. Ambiorix plays his bribe mercenary card. Ouch! In a shocking reversal of the tides, the mercenary scutari switch their loyalty to Ambiorix, the well-known Gallic hero of Alesia, the kind of general every mercenary dream to fight for. The mercenary scutari then takes position on tile 3, threatening the Carthaginian Hispanic scutari and his ballista. But wait. What should happen to the onager then? The rule is clear: artillery units must always be stacked with a main battle card, or be destroyed. The skirmishers are not enough here. The onager is then destroyed because of the scutari betrayal. First kill to the Gallic. Mago Barca immediately orders his ballista to shoot straight on the defector. His ballista rolls an X and a blank, wounding the scutari. It is now time for skirmishers. On tile 1 the Numidian cavalry rolls 2 blanks, while the pony rider rolls 1 X, wounding the Numidian. On tile 4 the javelin men have to lower their dice color as they are shooting in the woods. The javelin men roll a blank, doing nothing there. The impact of the charge happens. On tile 1 the pony cavalry rolls a blank and a X, wounding the pony riders, while the veteran heavy cavalry rolls an X and a blank, killing the Numidians. And that is 2 kills to none for the Gallic tribes. On tile 3 the Carthaginian scutari rolls a skull, while the mercenary rolls an X and a blank, only wounding the Carthaginians. The traitors now lie dead on the battlefield, and Carthage is back with 1 kill to 2. In the woods the soldiery rolls an X, only wounding the skirmishers. Finally on tile 5 the veteran war elephant rolls an X, only wounding the veteran lowland, who rolls a S and a blank, doing nothing. The charge is now over and the remaining skirmishers leave the battlefield. They have played their part. Mago Barca looks at the disaster. Taking into account the mercenary defection, he has already lost 3 troops, but the score is only 2 kills to 1. However, with his seized initiative and his bad enemy timing, the situation is not yet desperate. He is hesitating. Should he use his skillful disengagement and just retreat now? Well, he cannot accept it. Never give up. Let's fight. Ambiorix immediately uses his flank march to send his heavy cavalry on tile 6, and his remaining lowland on tile 3. But wait. Mago Barca plays his bad enemy timing to block the heavy cavalry. Wait again. Can Ambiorix still use his flank march for the other unit? Well, we think so, but should he send his lowland on tile 7? The scutari is wounded and that tile looks like an easy double kill. Okay, the lowland is finally deployed on tile 3. Mago Barca then sends his sacred band on tile 2 against the noble cavalry, and his citizen spearmen on tile 4 in the woods. Well, the citizen spearman in the woods looks like a bad idea, but what can he do? Is it a good idea to let the soldiery provide support on the adjacent cells? The special effect on the sacred band will be more useful against cavalry. Let's just hope the spearmen survive. Wow, that second round will be epic. Because there is no flanking nor support, the order of the fight does not matter so much here. However, both generals should use their fighting die very carefully here if they want to secure a victory. Being the highest-ranked General Mago Barca has initiative and activates Tile 5. The Dreadful War Elephants rolls a skull, trampling the veteran Lowland who succeeds to roll 2x, killing the elephants. 3 kills to 2. Ambiorix should now choose which tile to activate, but Mago plays his Seize Initiative card. Okay. He needs to know if he must join the battlefield, and for this, he needs to roll Tile 3. Let's face it. They may be a double loss here or not. Once the tile is rolled, he will know and will be able to plan accordingly. Let's roll Tile 3. But wait. Does Ambiorix want to join the battlefield? Well, it is either here or in the woods. His Lowland has 50% chance of securing a double kill. Should he make it more? Okay, this roll is too important. Ambiorix joins the battlefield on Tile 3, ready to fight. He and the Lowland roll a blank and a wound, killing both the Scutari and the Ballista, while the Scutari only rolls a X, wounding the Lowland. 5 kills to 2. That victory now looks locked in for the Gallic. Okay, because he stole initiative to Ambiorix, it is now back to Mago again. And he now has his answer, he needs to join the battlefield. Mago joins Tile 1 for a last charge with his pony cavalry. He and the cavalry roll an X and 2 blanks, while the veteran heavy cavalry rolls an X and a blank, both units wounding each other. On Tile 2 the sacred band rolls an X and a blank, wounding the noble cavalry who rolls a X, wounding the sacred band. No one will collapse here, but the battle is lost for Mago. Finally on Tile for the soldiery rolls an X, wounding the spearman who rolls a blank and AS, doing nothing. The battle is over and Mago Barca is defeated. The Carthaginian invaders disorderly retreat from the sacred Gallic land, while Ambiorix regroups his veteran Lowland warrior and upgrades a new Lowland to veteran status. This is the first defeat for Mago, while Ambiorix is still running on an impressive streak of victories. The Gallic general can roll for upgrade and rolls a blank, staying a 3-star general. Back on the campaign map, the Gallic tribes score 1 more point with that victory. We now have Rome, Carthage, and Gallic tribes all at 19 points. But the Carthaginians still have an edge. First, they should earn more economic points next turn, then they still have some moves to do in the east. In this battle, Mago Barca has faced heavy losses. He is pushed back to Lemonum with only 3 main battle card and 1 skirmisher. Himilcon Famius also loses 1 unit in the battle, one of his mercenary Hispanic Scutari. After this defeat, Mago uses his last movement point to retreat to Nemesos. The Carthaginian player turns his gaze to the east. With only 3 remaining ships, his Fleet 2 cannot carry either Giscon nor Hasdrubal. His Fleet 1 could carry both, but it is too far away to manage both embarking and disembarking an army in the same turn. Okay, first, the Carthaginian player uses 2 movement points to send his Fleet 2 in Mare Igum for our first naval battle. The Carthaginian flagships roll a wound, a skull, and another wound, sinking 2 Macedonian ships, while the Macedonians roll a blank, 2 wounds, ass and skull, sinking 2 Carthaginian ships as well. Reduced to only 1 ship, the Carthaginian Fleet 2 retreats to Mare Africanum. Okay, the Macedonian fleet is weakened enough, time to destroy it entirely with Fleet 1. 2 movement points are used to send Fleet 1 into Mare Igum. The Carthaginian flagships roll AS, an X and 3 skulls, destroying all of the remaining Macedonian quinquiremes, who roll a X, a skull, and another X, taking down 2 flagships. The Carthaginian player scores 1 more victory point with that victory at sea. He is taking the lead again. His Fleet 2 uses its last movement point to reach the port of Carthago, while Hasdrubal uses all of his movement point to reach the Carthaginian capital as well. On his side, Ghis Khan cannot yet start his march to Anatolia. Indeed, despite having a full army, he would face incremental small losses, and because the supply line through Jerusalem has been cut due to an hostile agent action, that would leave him as vulnerable as Ptolemy has been to a sudden Macedonian counterattack. So, he cannot launch an amphibious assault on Macedonian home regions because he lacks the fleet, and he cannot even walk north to Anatolia because he is lacking the supply line. No problem. Rolling for home regions is just postponed for next turn. Ghis Khan marches back south to Jerusalem, where he rolls a blank in AX, losing no troops, and then uses his remaining movement points to reach Antioch, where he rolls a skull and AX, losing one citizen spearman. Jason then decides to stop his turn here. He is in the perfect position with a big enough army, a direct supply line to his home region, next to Aegeum and ready to embark and disembark in any Macedonian home region next turn. Well, Carthage did not earn many points in the east, but all his components are now in the good position for next turn. His fleet 1 is holding the sea and the Macedonians will have to face some fight if they want to win Aegeum back. Ghis Khan sits in the good place, Fleet 2 is ready to get fully replenished in Carthago port, and Hasdrubal is where he should be to enjoy a ride with Fleet 2 next turn. Carthage then ends his turn here, and we are back to the Macedonians to end this 6th campaign turn. Poor Macedonians. They are lagging in the scoreboard 7 points behind everyone, and to be honest, they are also lacking of ideas here. What can they do? Philip has a full, beautiful veteran army. But to do what? Rushing back to home region will take turns, and may whatever be inefficient to defend it, while walking south into the Italian peninsula, he won't be able to score any points at least for this turn. Alexander's army has been halved once again, but whatever, even Parmenion with his full army is lacking options. Okay, let's not be too negative. Carthage has superior naval technologies, but their fleet 1 has been weakened. 5 yellow dice against 3 red, that looks worth trying. No? His fleet 2 is deployed in the port of Athens and sails to Mare Aegium to chase the Carthaginian fleet. The Macedonian player rolls a skull, AS, and 3 wounds, destroying 2 Carthaginian fleet. Not enough to destroy it. In the same time, the Carthaginian fleet rolls 2 skulls and AX, sinking 2 Macedonian ships as well. There is no victory point for Macedonia, but that is still a victory. The Carthaginian fleet retreats to Jerusalem port, while the Macedonians takes back Aegeum Sea. With only 3 ships, Fleet 1 is now too small to embark Parmenian army. Okay, this will be a very uneventful turn. Alexander breaks the siege on Iater and uses all of his movement points to travel back to Thessalonica. Parmenion then takes position in Corinthus. Finally, Philip escapes the Alps to Patavium, and ends his turn laying a siege on the walled city of Genu. And that's all for Macedonia. Time for spending. Rome starts that 6th spending turn with 29 gold to spend. Well, it is a bit late, but it still may be worth developing siegecraft. The 26 remaining gold will then all go into recruitment. The question now is, should he reinforce his defensive armies in Italy, or build a new one for a new offensive? Well, of course he needs to go on full attack. His best course of action should be to use his barracks in the Alps to attack Euburzus and Tulliferdum. Yes, Euburzus is heavily fortified, but with his new siegecraft tech and enough men, it should not be a problem. To be honest, even Titus may sail for attack. Rome does not care about defending Italy against the Gallic and the Macedonian. His main enemy for the final victory is Carthage, and he should roll for as many homes region as possible. With Carthage fleets all in ports, he could have an opportunity there. 22 gold are spent on Army 1. A new general, Gaius Cassius Longinus, is enrolled for 2 gold, and 20 more gold are spent on 3 legionaries, 2 auxiliaries, 1 onager, 1 ballista and 1 archer. 3 more gold are spent to recruit 1 legionary for Titus, and Rome ends the turn with 1 gold in its treasury. And it is now time for the Gallic tribes to spend. Well, we now all know that next turn will be the last one. For every faction the question is, how to score victory points. All Gallic armies will be fully replenished, yes, but to do what? Vercingetorix may roll for more home regions in Italy. Should the 3 other armies keep defending the Gallic home regions? Well, that may be needed to avoid giving too many points to Carthage. However, with a new fleet, one of the Gallic armies may try to target Ebra and then roll for Cordoba. Okay, let's recruit first. 4 gold are spent on Army 3 to recruit a new 2-star general, Bajonet, coming with a new soldiery for free, and 1 Highland warrior. Then 3 gold are spent on Amberic's army to recruit a chariot and a slinger. 9 gold are spent on Sedullo's army, reinforcing it with 3 Highland warriors and 1 naked Gisiti. And finally, 7 gold are spent on Vercingetorix's army, reinforcing it with 1 naked Gisiti, 1 noble cavalry, and 1 javelin men, for a total of 23 gold spent. 10 more gold are then spent to build 1 full fleet of trimers. Finally, on the building side, 6 gold are spent to build a barrack in Alesia, and 2 walls in Trevorum and Tulliferdum. The Gallic tribes then ends their turn with 17 gold in their treasury. For this 6th spending turn, Carthage has 47 gold to spend. On the recruitment side, his main point will be to replenish Mago and Giscon. Mago should have an infantry-focused army, designed to take home regions, while Himilcon Famius will stay nearby to support him with cavalry units when required. 16 gold are spent on Mago army to recruit a mercenary Hispanic Scutari, coming for free with the mercenary tech, 1 sacred band, 1 war elephant, 1 Numidian cavalry, 1 ballista, and 1 onager. 3 more gold are spent on Giscon for a citizen spearman, and Carthage is left with 28 gold. 16 gold are then spent to fully replenish his 2 fleets, and 2 gold are spent to buy a 3rd agent. The Carthaginian player hesitates for his last 10 gold. On one hand, he may want to go for some more walling in home region. On the other hand, being able to choose when you play for that last turn may be important as well. Frankly, as long as his navy is out of the port first, does he really need to wall everywhere? Let's keep those 10 golds. And it is now up to Macedonia to end that 6th spending turn. Macedonia will have a 37 gold budget for that last turn. Okay, let's recruit first. 12 gold are spent on Alexander army to recruit 2 phalanx, 1 Rhodian slinger, 1 onager, and 1 ballista. 19 gold are then spent to rebuild Army 3 with a new general, Clitus the Black, taking his lead, 2 phalanx, 1 javelin men, 1 companion cavalry, 2 Dacian warriors including 1 coming for free, and 1 Scythian horse archer. After those 31 gold spent, Macedonia is left with 6 gold, that are spent to rebuild Fleet 1 with 3 ships. This 6th turn is now over. As expected, the score race has sharply accelerated, and there is now no doubt that turn 7 will be the last one. What was maybe not expected was the Roman comeback, thanks to their expedition along the Rhine, and that the Gallic tribes will still be able to hold their ground with some more military victory points. Looking at turn 7, we will probably have more than one faction reaching the 25-point threshold. It will then be crucial to score as many points as possible, and, for those who will play first during the 7th campaign turn, to make themselves sure that they are not opening too many opportunities for their opponents with their bold moves. Only Macedonia is definitely out of the course, which is funny knowing they won the last game. Well, they find themselves in a similar position that the Gallic tribes last time. They know they cannot win for sure. Knowing that, who do they want to prevent winning? Let's see how the endgame settles during the next turn. Don't miss the next episode. Subscribe.